I'm currently focused on defining the scope. The task is clear: to extend the last 4 items of a list into first-person vignettes. I am now considering the desired tone. This part is crucial for making the final vignettes. I've decided to lean into a humorous, gentle tone, focusing on emotional well-being. It should feel cozy. This is helping me craft the vignettes. I'm imagining how each item can be personified using metaphors to enhance the approach. The GABA example is now taking shape. The goal is a calming effect, contrasting it to a noisy, racing brain. I am now working on the first vignette draft. I'm now fully immersed in the second vignette, personifying melatonin as a stage manager, quieting the internal chaos. I'm focusing on the contrast, the insomnia one-man show, and the peaceful shutdown. The humor is flowing as I visualize melatonin as a vegan, all-black wearing stagehand. I'm aiming for a seamless blend of metaphor and relatable humor to capture the sense of calm. I'm currently focused on the third vignette, personifying herbal teas. I'm finding the metaphor of a liquid hug quite effective. Chamomile is a gentle meadow, a tax audit-free zone that offers giggles, and peppermint is the cool aunt who settles my stomach after emotional indulgences. I'm trying to capture the feeling of the mug in my hands, warming my heart. I'm now fully immersed in the fourth vignette, focusing on daily gratitude. It's about a practice, not a pill. I'm imagining it as a free, vegan vitamin for the soul that transforms a Tuesday into a good Tuesday. I want it to feel like filling a deficiency of joy, cheap and effective. The humor comes from its simplicity, which can be seen as cheesy. I'm now deep in the final polishing stage. I'm double-checking that each vignette aligns perfectly with the initial constraints. I'm actively enhancing the imagery throughout, especially the insomnia show, which is being made more vivid. I'm also working to make the tea vignette feel even cozier and focusing on a strong ending for the gratitude piece. I'm now ensuring a natural flow from the nutrient list to the concept list for seamless transitions. My brain is an overachiever. It doesn't just think, it sprints. It likes to train for the Olympics of Worry at 11:30 p.m. I needed a sedative, but the gentle kind. I needed GABA. GABA, derived from fermented rice, is the chillest neurotransmitter in the game. I take it, and it feels like a soft, heavy quilt being draped over my racing thoughts. It walks into the noisy room of my mind and doesn't yell for silence. It just starts singing a lullaby. Hush now, it croons to my anxiety. The sprinting stops, the track lights go out. My brain stops trying to break records and finally, blessedly, decides to just break for a nap. Insomnia loves to put on a one-man show in my bedroom. The curtain rises at midnight and the main character is me, replaying an awkward conversation from 2011. I hired a stage manager. I hired melatonin. Melatonin wears all black and a headset. He walks onto the stage of my consciousness with a clipboard. Okay, folks, that's a wrap, he announces calmly. He starts dimming the lights. He cuts the microphone on my internal monologue. Insomnia tries to do an encore, but melatonin just pulls the velvet curtain shut. Go home, he tells the thoughts. My eyelids get heavy, the theater goes dark, and I finally get to exit the venue and drift into the parking lot of dreams. Some problems require a lawyer, some require a spreadsheet, but most of my problems just require hot water and dried leaves. I carry my tension in my shoulders. They perpetually hover around my ears, as if preparing to catch a piano that might fall from the sky. My muscles were conducting a silent, non-stop symphony of stress, and the main instrument was anxiety violin. I needed a conductor. I needed a whisper. I needed magnesium. Magnesium is the tension tamer. She walks in wearing a soft earth-toned sweater and moves through my body like a gentle cloud. She finds my jaw, which is clenched so tight it could crack walnuts. Shh, she coos, her voice a soft hum of leafy greens. Unclench, you have no walnuts. She wraps a warm magnesium blanket around my knotted muscles. It feels like the final pose in a perfect yoga class, where your body melts and your instructor tells you to hug yourself. My shoulders drop. The symphony turns into a lullaby. I feel cradled, whispered to, and finally, deeply supported. I am a simple being. If I do not have enough potassium, I wilt. I don't faint, I just droop. My leaves curl. I become a sad basil plant on the windowsill of life. My mood sags. My limbs feel heavy. I need someone to balance the hydration conversation. I need the diplomat. Potassium is the ultimate negotiator in the fluid debate between my cells. He sits at a long, polished table with his counterpart, sodium. Listen, Potassium says in a reasonable tone. We need to move fluids out of this zone, or our friend is going to look like an underwatered fern. He maintains the delicate osmotic balance, ensuring I am just firm enough. With Potassium's diplomacy, I no longer resemble a forgotten houseplant. I stand upright, hydrated, and vibrant enough to face the day without a dramatic plea for a watering can. My body loves to make mistakes. Calcium, eager to help, sometimes wanders off. I picture it straying into my arteries, looking at the smooth walls and thinking, this looks like a great place to build a little plaque hut and settle down. It's not malicious, it's just lost. I needed to install navigation. I summoned vitamin K2. She's the calm, logical voice of the mapping system. Recalculating, K2 says firmly whenever Calcium gets distracted. In 500 microns, turn left into the femur. Do not exit to the aortic plaque neighborhood. She is the GPS that never loses signal. She reroutes my minerals from disaster to destiny. Because of her, my bones get the reinforcements they need, and my heart gets to keep its clear, smooth highways. It's a huge relief to know my calcium has direction. I used to see the world in muted tones, not just physically, but emotionally. I'd get lost in the dark, both in my apartment and in my head. I'd stub my toe on my own anxiety. The world felt fuzzy, and the path forward looked like a squiggly line drawn by a toddler. I started eating sweet potatoes, carrots, and squash. I ingested orange. Vitamin A, derived from beta-carotene, is the friendly optometrist for my soul. He cleaned my emotional glasses. Suddenly, I didn't just have better night vision, I saw the bright side. Literally, the squiggly lines of life straightened out into clear, navigable paths. He ensures I don't just look, I see. It's the difference between peering through a foggy windshield and realizing the sun is actually out and the road is taking you somewhere nice. My skin is sensitive. It treats everything, dry air, a weird detergent, a mildly offensive email, as an act of war. It gets red. It gets angry. It looks at me with disappointment. I needed to broker a peace treaty. I needed vitamin E. Vitamin E is the smooth, oil-based peacekeeper. She arrives in the skin's capital city wearing a beautiful sunflower seed necklace. She sits both sides down, the fiery redness, the itchy dryness, and says, enough. She offers soothing tocopherols like olive branches. The inflammation subsides, the redness retreats, a truce is signed, the glow returns, that subtle light that happens when your skin is at peace with the world. Here is the next chapter in our B vitamin biography, featuring the cheerleader, the coach, the whisperer, the investor, and the diplomat. My body is essentially a 24-hour construction site where the workers are constantly trying to photocopy blueprints, my DNA, without a break. Without supervision, mistakes happen. Typos occur. I wake up feeling like a rough draft of a human being. I needed morale. I needed spirit. I needed folate. Folate is the varsity cheerleader of cell division. She stands on the sidelines of my biology with a megaphone. Give me a C, give me a G, give me a perfect replication sequence, she chants. She ensures that every new cell blooms with the smooth, rhythmic precision of my favorite lo-fi playlist. Because of her, my body doesn't just stumble into the next day. It transitions with a fade in. I feel fresher, brighter, and significantly less like a photocopy that ran out of toner halfway through the page. I am naturally a pale person. I tend to look like I haunt Victorian manors for a living. My circulation is polite, quiet, and very slow. I needed a coach to come in and blow the whistle. I needed niacin. Niacin is the intense tracksuit-wearing coach of the cardiovascular system. He shouts, "Let's move, people. Capillaries, open up, blood flow, let's go." And sometimes he works a little too well. The famous niacin flush hits, and suddenly my cheeks are burning pink. But for once, it's not because I tripped in public or waved at someone who wasn't waving at me. It's just pure, unadulterated flow. I feel warm, I feel alive, I feel like my blood is finally doing cardio, and frankly, it looks good on me. I have a deep emotional relationship with pasta. But historically, pasta has been a toxic partner. It fills me with joy for 10 minutes and then drags me into a 3-hour nap of regret. I wanted the carbs without the coma. I needed the whisperer. Thiamine is the motivational speaker for starch. He stands on the podium of my metabolism and addresses the spaghetti. "You are not just flour and water," he bellows. "You are fuel. You are destiny." Under his guidance, the bread doesn't settle in my stomach like a brick. It ignites. It turns into pep. Instead of needing a nap after dinner, I find myself looking for a mountain to climb, or at least a very aggressive game of Scrabble to win. It is a spaghetti-fueled triumph, and I have thiamine to thank for the conversion. Adulting is expensive, not just financially, but energetically. Replying to emails costs 10 units of energy. Folding laundry costs 50. By 2 p.m., I am usually bankrupt. I needed capital. I needed an angel investor. I needed riboflavin. Riboflavin looked at my struggling mitochondrial startup and decided to write a check. "I like what you're doing with the oxygen," he told my cells. "Here's some funding." He turns the lights back on. He funds the daily hustle. Sure, he turns my bathroom visits into a neon yellow laser show, a sign of his gold standard investment, but that's just his branding. Thanks to his influx of cash, I can make it to 5 p.m. without chemically altering my personality with a third espresso. I am solvent. I am energized. I am open for business. I am prone to awkwardness. I am the person who says, "You too," when the waiter says, "Enjoy your meal," and then thinks about it for 6 years. My neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, GABA, were struggling to communicate. They were shouting over each other. I needed a mediator. I needed the diplomat. B6 glides into the conference room of my brain wearing a tailored suit. "Let's lower the anxiety," B6 suggests calmly to the adrenal glands. "Let's boost the serotonin." He smooths the edges of my social interactions. He regulates the mood chemicals so that when a silence falls in conversation, I don't panic. I just sit there, comfortable in the quiet, looking mysterious rather than terrified. B6 turns my internal screaming into a polite hum. He makes me feel like a person who knows how to human, and for that, he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. I'm now zeroing in on the fundamental task, transforming these 5 nutritional concepts into the framework of a story. I'm now diving into the specifics of folate, B9, and niacin, B3, starting to flesh out their narratives. Folate is becoming the energetic cell division cheerleader, while niacin is the circulation coach that causes my cheeks to blush with enthusiasm, not embarrassment. I'm focusing on weaving these metaphors into the first-person perspective, playing with humorous analogies. I'm now refining the metaphor for niacin. It's no longer just a circulation coach, but a coach yelling "move it" to my blood, turning the blush of warmth into a sign of efficiency. I'm also developing the metaphor for thiamine as a carb conversion whisperer, transforming bread and pasta into rocket fuel, the motivational speaker for the baguette, turning bread into pep, not regret. I'm then going to focus on building the idea of riboflavin as an energy investor, turning it into an angel investor that provides energy, not regret. I'm now zeroing in on riboflavin's metaphor. It's the energy investor, the angel that backs my tired mitochondria and turns on the lights. Neon yellow urine is now framed as liquid gold, the classic B2 joke. I'm also developing the metaphor for B6, that tiny diplomat in the brain, smoothing social interactions, especially when I'm about to say "you too" to a waiter. It helps transform awkward silences into pregnant pauses thanks to its role in regulating mood chemicals. I'm now revising my draft, focusing on subtle refinements. The B2P joke needs a lighter touch. I'll soften the delivery. Also, the niacin flush will now be cozy, not uncomfortable, and I want to highlight the positive effect that it offers instead of having it sound like an allergic reaction. My body is essentially a 24-hour construction site where the workers are constantly trying to photocopy blueprints, my DNA, without a break. Without supervision, mistakes happen, typos occur. I wake up feeling like a rough draft of a human being. I needed morale, I needed spirit, I needed folate. Folate is the varsity cheerleader of cell division. She stands on the sidelines of my biology with a megaphone. "Give me a C, give me a G, give me a perfect replication sequence," she chants. She ensures that every new cell blooms with the smooth, rhythmic precision of my favorite lo-fi playlist. Because of her, my body doesn't just stumble into the next day, it transitions with a fade in. I feel fresher, brighter, and significantly less like a photocopy that ran out of toner halfway through the page. I am naturally a pale person. I tend to look like I haunt Victorian manors for a living. My circulation is polite, quiet, and very slow. I needed a coach to come in and blow the whistle. I needed niacin. Niacin is the intense, tracksuit-wearing coach of the cardiovascular system. He shouts, "Let's move, people! Capillaries, open up! Blood flow, let's go!" And sometimes he works a little too well. The famous niacin flush hits, and suddenly my cheeks are burning pink. But for once, it's not because I tripped in public or waved at someone who wasn't waving at me. It's just pure, unadulterated flow. I feel warm, I feel alive, I feel like my blood is finally doing cardio, and frankly, it looks good on me. I have a deep, emotional relationship with pasta. But historically, pasta has been a toxic partner. It fills me with joy for 10 minutes and then drags me into a 3-hour nap of regret. I wanted the carbs without the coma. I needed the whisperer. Thiamine is the motivational speaker for starch. He stands on the podium of my metabolism and addresses the spaghetti. "You are not just flour and water," he bellows. "You are fuel. You are destiny." Under his guidance, the bread doesn't settle in my stomach like a brick. It ignites. It turns into pep. Instead of needing a nap after dinner, I find myself looking for a mountain to climb, or at least a very aggressive game of Scrabble to win. I spent a lot of my 20s staring into space, usually while sitting on the bathroom floor, contemplating the cruelty of a slow digestion. I felt heavy, like I was carrying around a backpack full of rocks that I didn't remember packing. I needed enlightenment. I needed a guru. I found fiber. Fiber doesn't speak in riddles, it speaks in bulk. Movement is life, Fiber lectured as I chewed on my oatmeal. Stagnation is sorrow. It's the ultimate regularity guru. Since committing to the high-fiber lifestyle, the staring into space-time has vanished, replaced by efficient, punctual visits that leave me feeling lighter than air. My gut is happy, which means my brain is happy, which means I have stopped Googling symptoms of having a brick in stomach and started actually enjoying my life. I have always loved potatoes, but I felt guilty about it. "You're just empty calories," I'd accuse the spud. But then I met the rebel of the carb family, resistant starch. It happens when you cook a potato or rice and let it cool down. It changes. It puts on a leather jacket. It stops listening to the rules of digestion. "I'm not getting absorbed in the small intestine," the cold potato sneered. "I'm going straight to the colon to party." This rebellious streak is exactly what I needed. By bypassing digestion, it feeds my gut bugs and keeps my blood sugar steady. It manages my cravings with a cool indifference. Now, when I eat potato salad, I feel like I'm hanging out with the bad boy of nutrition who actually has a heart of gold. We break the rules together, and my appetite stays surprisingly well behaved. My cortisol levels used to be a circus act gone wrong, plates smashing, clowns crying, the tent on fire. I tried hanging a hang in there cat poster in my mind, but the cat looked terrified. I needed a professional juggler to handle the chaos. I needed adaptogens. These herbs enter the chaotic circus of my adrenal glands and simply start catching things. They catch the anxiety, they catch the fatigue, they catch the sudden urge to move to a yurt. They juggle the stresses with an effortless rhythm, tossing them up and down until they blur into a manageable cycle. They don't make the stress disappear, but they make it look like a performance rather than a disaster. Watching my internal panic get reorganized into a smooth routine is far more inspiring than any poster. I am what scientists refer to as high-strung. If I were an instrument, I would be a violin tuned 3 octaves too high, ready to snap. I needed to tune down. I needed the chill pill. I found ashwagandha. Taking it feels like putting on noise-canceling headphones for your soul. It doesn't sedate me. It just lowers the volume of the world. The constant hum of "you're forgetting something" fades away. In its place, the herb whispers a soft, earthy mantra. "Relax. You got this. The email can wait." It's the supportive friend who puts a hand on your shoulder and tells you to breathe. Suddenly, the violin strings loosen. I'm no longer screeching. I'm humming a low, pleasant tune. There are days when my self-esteem is stuck in the basement, refusing to come up for dinner. I feel small. I feel tired. I feel like a background character in my own biography. I needed a hype man. I needed someone to grab the microphone and announce my arrival. I needed maca root. Maca hails from the high Andes, and it brings that mountaintop energy straight to my smoothie. It tastes like malted caramel and confidence. As I drink it, I feel the hype building. Who's ready to tackle the day? Maca screams into my bloodstream. Is it you? Yes, it is! It boosts my endurance for workouts and my endurance for awkward social interactions. I feel a surge of ancient rootsy power. I don't need a toga or a scepter. I just need this root vegetable to remind me that I am capable of climbing metaphorical mountains, or at least climbing the stairs without getting winded. I always thought of peas as the side dish you hid under your mashed potatoes to trick your parents. They were small, round, and unassuming. But then I met their alter ego, pea protein. This wasn't the shy vegetable of my childhood. This was a legume that had hit the gym. I blended the powder into my shake. It was gritty, earthy, and unapologetic. "We are building!" the pea protein shouted as it hit my biceps. "We are flexing!" It wasn't just building muscle fiber, it was building my self-esteem. If a tiny, squishy pea could transform into a powerhouse of strength, then surely I could transform from a person who naps to a person who squats. It's the ultimate underdog story, happening right in my shaker bottle. I drink it and feel a sudden urge to flex in the mirror, whispering, "Thanks, little green guys." My confidence can be a bit rigid. I tend to crack under pressure. I needed a nutrient that knew how to adapt, how to fit in anywhere, how to be smooth. I needed soy. Soy protein is the social chameleon of the pantry. I put it in a smoothie. It was creamy. I baked it into a muffin. It was structured. "I got you," Soy whispered. "I can be whatever you need me to be." It slides into my diet with the ease of a professional charmer. It doesn't clash, it enhances. Consuming it makes me feel more versatile. I start to believe that I too can slide into any social situation, a party, a meeting, a nap, with the same effortless grace. My self-confidence becomes less brittle and more like tofu, capable of absorbing the flavor of the room without losing its substance. My digestive system is an exclusive club with a very strict bouncer. Dairy, banned. Gluten, ejected. Soy, sometimes gets a warning. I felt like I was standing outside the party of nutrition, watching everyone else have fun. I needed a VIP pass. I needed a life raft. I needed rice protein. Rice protein is the hypoallergenic hero rowing toward me in a sea of allergens. "Come aboard," it says gently. No bloating here. No drama. It lets me into the club. I drink the shake and my stomach remains calm, quiet and peaceful. I finally feel like a nutrient-rich VIP. I'm getting the gains, the energy and the amino acids, but without the chaotic aftermath. It's the gentle, inclusive friend who makes sure the party is accessible for everyone, even those of us with sensitive temperaments and intestines. I hate FOMO, fear of missing out. Especially when it comes to amino acids, I worried that if I just ate peas, I'd miss out on methionine. If I just ate rice, I'd miss lysine. My cells would be sad. I needed a reunion. I needed the all-stars. I bought a mixed plant protein blend. It was like assembling the Avengers of the vegetable kingdom. Pea, rice, pumpkin, and chia joined forces in my glass. "We have covered all the bases!" they cheered in unison. "Every amino acid is present and accounted for." Knowing my nutritional bases were covered gave me a surge of relief so profound I did a little happy dance in my kitchen. The protein fueled the dance, and the dance fueled my joy. It's a perfect, complete cycle of plant-based happiness. I wanted bouncy skin. I wanted the glow. But I looked at traditional collagen supplements and thought, do I really want to drink a cow's hoof to look pretty? That felt like a lot of drama. I wanted beauty without the barnyard. I found the collagen builders, vitamin C, silica, amino acids. They don't contain collagen. They inspire it. They are the motivational speakers for my fibroblasts. "You can do it," they shout to my skin cells. "Make that structure, plump that dermis." It's a beauty boost that comes from within. My skin's self-esteem started to rise. I looked in the mirror and saw a face that was bouncy, resilient, and remarkably drama-free. I realized I didn't need to borrow beauty from an animal. I just needed to give my own body the tools to build its own masterpiece.